All right, it's Red versus Blue, episode number 79. My name is Mike Stark.
And I'm Keith Curry.
We have been away for far too long. There's been so much going on, right, Keith?
Well, there has been. I mean, we're just going to sort of pick it up in the middle, but wow, what a month.
But we did go on vacation, both of us. And where did you go?
I was on a cruise. We went from New York City to Reykjavik, Iceland, via Maritime Canada and Greenland. They're all beautiful places. I will tell you that if we annexed Canada and Greenland, I'm pretty confident that having met the people there, that they would vote Democratic. So that's something my Republican friends may want to think about. If we continue to move that, Iceland is just a beautiful place with waterfalls and green hills and lava flows and everything. And Greenland is a very special place too. I encourage people to visit and most people have never been there.
Right.
And of course, Maritime Canada is particularly picturesque.
He wants Canada too, so I imagine there'd be some more Democratic votes there.
Absolutely. It's like putting another Democratic California into the Union. And I don't think he wants to do that. Now, Mike, you were in Nashville, apparently. You were I was in the other political perspective.
I was there in the other political perspective. However, I did stay in East Nashville, which is a pretty progressive part of Nashville. It's where all the progressive musicians stay and play. And I'd never made it downtown to downtown Nashville because, quite frankly, that thing is a complete zoo. It had nothing to do with politics. It's just a circus down there. And it really has so little to do with country music anymore that it's a hard place to take. Now, East Nashville, you still have that feel that it's a country area. And we went to some shows and we went to the Opry. And I got to tell you about that experience because that was really a great experience. We went for a VIP package and we got to watch the first part of the Opry on stage. In the back of the stage, they had seats for us, and you got to see that curtain come up and see those thousands of people when the show opened, and that in itself was worth it. It was an amazing experience, and I would recommend anybody of either stripe to go and experience the Opry if they possibly can, because it was just unbelievable.
I've been to see it, and I second that. It's a great experience. It's a great part of America. And whether a Democrat or Republican, everybody loves biscuit love when you get to Nashville.
There you go. All right. We're going to do a quick little summation because we've been away for a while. A lot has gone on, but we won't go into a lot of specifics. But we'll just, as we head towards the midterm, right, we have to start focusing on what the prospects are here. Now, I will start first and tell you what I think about the situation on both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans. I think the thing that they both have in common is that they both lack real leadership. Now, the Republicans, they're still, for the most part, some people are breaking away, but for the most part, the Republicans are still walking lockstep with Trump. There's no leadership there. There's no real leadership there. There's some people, like I said, that are giving Trump trouble, but nothing major. Now, the Democrats just don't have anybody in a leadership position. Plain and simple. There's no one that is leading the Democratic Party, and that's dangerous, I think, going into the midterm. And the Dems need to push back on the far left agenda. And I find this very interesting that Van Jones, who during the Trump's first administration, he called Van Jones a communist several times. Now Van Jones is stepping out and saying, listen, we got to, as a party, the Democrats need to go back towards the center. And he's been very outspoken about that, taking some heat from the Dems, in fact. But it's interesting that of all people, Van Jones is stepping up to try and bring moderation to the Democratic Party. The other thing that Dems have to do is the Republicans, the only thing they have to run on right now, it seems like to me, that they're running on, you vote a Democrat, you're voting for a communist. And it's not that black and white. You know, there are moderate Democrats still out there, but they're being painted in that far left picture as part of the far left. And I think that is in my mind, a big problem because a lot of people buy into that. It happened in the 50s with Joe McCarthy, and it seems to be happening a little bit right now. That's my take on what's going on. And you are an expert, so you can tell me where I'm wrong and where I'm wrong.
Well, Mike, actually, I think you're pretty right on most of this. I mean, I think you really hit the critical issues. I'll look at the Republicans, and we picked this conversation up in the middle, but it's the same conversation we've been having for 4 or 5 months now. Trump had his 250 America celebration. Nobody came. He gave a very angry and disjointed speech. He had a cage match on the White House lawn. They can't pass the defense appropriation. They can't confirm Tom Blanche. They can't get the SAVE Act passed. The filibuster is not going to go away. So you're right about leadership in the Republican Party. Now, Trump is trying to lead the Republicans to pass his SAVE Act more than anything else in the world because he knows that he's going to be subject of investigations and oversight in a way that he doesn't want it when the Democrats take control of Congress. So that is his number one and, in fact, only priority. The war in Iran has heated back up again. Oil hit $100 again. So the economics of the country are not favoring the Republicans. They are in, as one president would call it, deep doo-doo. McConnell is too ill to be on the floor. Senator Graham passed away. Cronin, Tillis, Murkowski, and Collins are either leaving the Senate or, frankly, have a revenge tour out for Trump because of how he's treated them. So the Republicans are fairly dysfunctional. One would think they're in for a big mess. But then there's the Democrats. And I think you put your finger on it, Mike. The Democrats are having an identity crisis very similar to the Republicans from the Tea Party. And you've got this group that do not represent mainstream Democrats, mainstream Americans, who are now coming to power. They did oust Graham Planter as the Senate nominee in Maine. Apparently raping somebody is a bridge too far for even Maine Democrats. He was replaced by another far-left Democrat, which left Susan Collins with a 2-month head start on the race and $60 million in the bank. So it's going to be very difficult for the Democrats now to switch a seat that was critical to trying to take control of the Senate. You had 3 Democratic Socialist candidates win in New York, defeating 2 incumbents, including the chairman of the Hispanic caucus. That is a real wake-up call for Democrats across the country. They won in Colorado. Today, actually, we have a primary in Michigan, moderate candidate Haley Stevens, a congresswoman, versus Abdul El Sayed, a Democratic Socialist. That is a seat that the Republicans can pick up. If El Sayed is certainly the nominee, it's going to be hard for even Stevens to hold it. But that's another battle for the soul of the Democratic Party. There's a Democratic Socialist, Francesca Hong, running in Wisconsin for governor. And along with Van Jones, it's Rahm Emanuel, Paul Begala, James Carville, David Axelrod, veterans of the Clinton and Obama administrations who know how to win elections, have all made the same warning that people need to move to the middle and start talking about pocketbook issues that affect real people and not raising taxes and the whole other agenda, defunding the police, which people are still advocating. And you would think if there was ever an agenda that failed with the voters, the whole defund the police agenda was it. And here they are again.
Yeah, I think you're right. Are there any other factors we need to add to the mix, or are we just sort of on a path towards the midterm and that you and I will have to keep an eye on things and report back?
Well, a couple of things. The reapportionment wars are going to probably cost the Democrats on a net basis across the country 5 seats that they would have otherwise picked up.
Wow.
I still believe the Democrats will take control of the House. It will be a much narrower margin than it would have been. There are much fewer competitive House seats that are really up for grabs. Both parties have nominated flawed candidates in some of the critical districts, and we'll see how that plays out. The Republicans have a very big money advantage. The Republicans have a very big organizational advantage. Ken Martin, who is the DNC chair, people are writing him up for throwing his phone at people. He's now in anger management classes to run the DNC, and the union that represents those employees are filing complaints against him. So, I mean, they've got some real issues there that are going to be distracting from the job of winning elections. The consultant class, which, by the way, for both parties is a very big constituency because the national committees, with all the money they raise, it all goes through these consultants. They're very powerful within the parties. There's a lot of resentment now within the Democratic Party for the role that the consultants play. And the consultants have been asked to not send any bills until after the midterms in November. which if you're feeding your kids or, buying your Ferrari is a hard thing to do.
Right.
And so the consultant class is sort of in the gun sights and is fighting both with the leadership and with the insurgents in the Democratic Party. And in the Republican Party, everybody, as you pointed out, is just rolling over and trying to follow Trump, who's leading them off a cliff. And the smart ones are trying to figure out how to avoid that trip. So it's a real challenge. I think the odds of the Democrats taking the Senate have probably declined a little bit, particularly if El Said is nominated in Michigan. I think the Maine situation has really made that much more difficult for Democrats than they had before. I think they're still going to win in Georgia and North Carolina. And I think we're going to see closer races in Ohio and Iowa than we might have expected, and Alaska than we might have expected. Texas is competitive. We'll see if Tallarico can, really come over the top there. That's going to depend upon turnout and what Hispanic voters do. And those are yet to be determined.
Well, we will be here for you, as we have been for far longer than we ever expected. If you're just joining us for the first time, please subscribe to the podcast. Like us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page that announces when the new shows are out and various other things. And hopefully we will be back soon since our vacations are behind us. Damn it. And we will be back sooner than before with another edition of Red versus Blue.
Thanks, everybody. Be safe.